So, the folks here at AnimeNation have decided that if you're not familiar with the 1985 movie Highlander, you fail at life. But, in case you're not familiar with the latest anime news, we are here to help you with that. I'm John. This is the AnimeNation News Podcast. And we start off this week with a new film announcement from Production IG. The studio has announced plans to make a movie titled Miss Hokusai. This is going to be an adaptation of Hinako Sugiura's 1983 to 1987 historical manga, Sasuraberi. The original manga was a life story of the manga artist Hokusai's third daughter. And when I say manga, I mean the historical sense of manga, as in woodblock illustration prints. Illustrated imagery. But apparently very few people are aware that while the illustrator Hokusai is one of Japan's most famous artists and one of the great classical artists of world history, actually some of his work was actually done by his third of four daughters, who was also very, very talented and spent her entire life assisting her father. So the manga is about the young daughter's life, and so that's what the film will be about. The film will be directed by Keiichi Hara, the director of the Summer Days with Ku and Colorful motion pictures. The screenwriter of the colorful motion picture, Miho Maruo, is writing the screenplay. Yoshimi Itazu, possibly best known as the animation director for Demo Coil, will be serving as animation director, and that's certainly good news. And then Hiroshi Ono, the art director for films including the recent Wolf Children, and Production IG's Letter to Momo, will be serving as the supervisor for background art design on the film. So we have a relatively all-star cast on this picture, and typically historical anime films, especially historical anime films that are relatively serious, tend to come out pretty well. So this is probably a film that we should be quite eagerly looking forward to. I know at least I am. JC Staff, the animation studio behind, for example, the recent Witchcraft Wars television series, is going to animate Wataru Watanabe's 2007 supernatural slapstick comedy manga, Magi Moji Rurumo. Magi Moji. It's like a tongue twister, isn't it? Magi Moji Rurumo. It's a manga series about a lecherous high school boy who is given a number of magic tickets that allow him to have an apprentice witch perform magic for him. So, you can imagine with that kind of power what uses he would put it to. However, the catch is that for each magic wish that he has fulfilled, he loses some of his lifespan. So the young kid here has to determine how much he actually wants these magic wishes fulfilled. And, of course, the apprentice witch herself may be a little hesitant to fulfill certain lecherous wishes. But the manga is a romantic comedy, slapstick, magic comedy from the creator who is now penning the Yowamushi Pedal bicycle racing manga series, which has a current ongoing television series. So it's quite a difference in genre. Chikara Sakurai, the assistant director of the Little Busters television series, will be directing the Majimoji Rurumo television series that will premiere this coming July in the new summer TV scene. Futari H is getting a new OVA. Katsuaki's Futari H, or Futari Echi, manga series has been going on since 1997 and currently has 60 collected volumes. The first 4 manga volumes were published in English by Tokyopop under the American title Manga Sutra. The name is a little bit provocative, a little more so than the manga itself is, but Step-Up Love Story, as it's known in English in Japan, is a manga story soap opera about love and romance and sexuality. This series has been popular enough in Japan that in addition to 60 manga volumes, it also has 4 anime OVAs that were produced back in 2002, and it has 3 straight-to-video live-action movies, the most recent of which was released 2 years ago in 2012. The OVA that will be coming up later this year will be an original story, which is a little bit surprising considering that with 60 volumes of manga, it's got plenty of material to adapt. In the live-action front, Kinkyori Renai will be getting a live-action feature film. Kinkyori Renai is the manga series from Rin Mikamoto that was serialized from 10 manga volumes from 2008 to 2011. The manga is a story about a tsundere teacher, a adult teacher who is very handsome and tends to do things that make women sort of go weak in the knees. However, he's a bit of a playboy, so he likes to be very chivalrous, but then again, he likes to put away and push away women. So he tends to be outward, sort of aloof. However, he ends up developing a romantic relationship with one of his female students, a brilliant high school girl. Naoto Kamuzawa, the director of the live-action Kimi ni Todoke motion picture, will be directing the film. Tomohise Yamashita, the star of Ikebukuro Westgate Park and Ashika no Joe, among other films, will be starring as the teacher. And Nana Komatsu, who is starring a variety of television commercials and a couple TV dramas, will be making her feature film debut as the high school student Yumi. The film is scheduled to open in Japanese theaters on October 11th. Hiromasa Okushima's manga series Akira No. 2 is also getting a live-action feature film. The manga series premiered in 2012. The 4th collecting manga volume will hit Japanese bookstores on May 26. The manga is about a high school boy named Akira who is the number 2 delinquent, or the number 2 Yankee at his high school. And the story is primarily about his struggles, which largely involve getting into fistfights and backstreet brawls, in an attempt to become the number 1 bancho, you could say. The number 1 tough guy at his high school. Thus the title Akira No. 2. Ryota Ozawa, the star of Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger, will star as Akira. The movie does not have a release date yet, but I think we can probably anticipate seeing this film later this year. In domestic news, Sentai Filmworks, as I mentioned last week, is likely to have more pickups from the current season. They've now announced 2 more, and both good ones. Sentai Filmworks has picked up the domestic home video distribution rights to No Game, No Life and Gochuman wa Usagi desu ka. Both of these, as I mentioned, are pretty good shows. These are among the titles that I'm regularly watching. No Game, No Life is the current series from the creator of Dark Rabbit Rising, that had a television series a couple years ago, Ichika Tenma no Usagi. No Game, No Life, if you're not familiar with it, is streaming on Crunchyroll. It's a story about 2 shut-in siblings who get transported to an alternate world where everything is determined by the outcome of gameplay. These 2 online gamers decide that this is an ideal world for them, and they're happier to live here than to live in modern-day Tokyo. The series has been interesting so far because it has a lot of character development and takes some unique twists on familiar concepts. Gochuman wa Usagi desu ka is the, as I mentioned previously, heavily moe anime about cute little girls running coffee shops. It's the kind of show that moe fans love to hate. It's the kind of show that people who like cute girls doing cute things like me typically tend to appreciate. So, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. For the people that love it, it's nice to know that it's now been acquired for domestic release through Sentai Filmworks. If you're uncertain about it and would like to find out more, it likewise is streaming right now on Crunchyroll. In terms of domestic releases this week, the Eureka 7 television series is back in distribution once again. Funimation released the complete television series previously distributed by Bandai Entertainment, now available in your choice of DVD or Blu-ray. It's available in half series sets, and the first season is also available in a limited edition set if you prefer. Sentai Filmworks re-released the Higamaari Sketch 365 television series. This would be the second season of Higamaari Sketch, this time on bilingual DVD. This was previously a subtitled-only DVD release. Sentai Filmworks also released the second half of the Little Busters television series in your choice of DVD or Blu-ray. Aniplex released a domestic limited edition Blu-ray set of the Neko Monogatari Kuro Tsubasa Kaizoku, or Neko Monogatari Black Tsubasa Family television series. This was the short 4-episode miniseries that led into the longer Neko Monogatari or Bakemonogatari second season. And Voyager Entertainment this past week released the second volume of what they call Star Blazers 2199, what most of us know as Zukushu Senken Yamato 2199, in your choice of DVD or Blu-ray. If you happen to be a faithful AnimeNation consumer, you may already have your copy of the new Eureka 7 re-release from us. We got that in the week before last, so we've already sent those out to pre-order customers. We do have that available for those that are interested. Higamaari Sketch, successful enough show in Japan to get 3 or 4 TV seasons, number of OVA releases, has never been a huge franchise hit here in America, but it does certainly have its fans, and those of you that have been disappointed that it's previously only been available subtitled can now pick it up with a presumable video upgrade to Blu-ray format, and also now an English dub track. Little Busters has been quite a big hit over here, so I know that there are plenty of you that will be eager to pick up the second half of that television series. Star Blazers 2199, as has been mentioned here and elsewhere, is an outstanding remake, reimagining of Leiji Matsumoto's Uchisenki Yamato television series. The price is a little bit hefty for what you get. However, then again, it is cheaper than a Japanese release. So, if you can afford it, which I wish I could, I highly recommend picking up Yamato 2199. It's definitely a title that I will be picking up eventually. I happen to be satisfied with my subtitle-only DVD release of Higamaari Sketch. I have all of those releases, so I'll be sticking with those. I also happen to have the complete Bandai single DVD release of Eureka 7 and the Eureka 7 movie, which also happens to be out in DVD and DVD Blu-ray combo from Funimation. So I'm satisfied with those releases. But as I've said, if you do not have the old Bandai releases, which are now somewhat difficult to find, they're available once again. So in terms of what's been going on with me lately, I caught up a little bit with Heart Catch Pretty Cure and find that I'm enjoying the show a little bit more now. Now that the series has gotten a lot of its establishing character development and scenario out of the way, it's starting to feel a little bit more like a typical characteristic Pretty Cure series. So, among other notable nuances. It's starting to focus a little bit less heavily on Hime's character quirks. So therefore, now that Hime is becoming less of a distraction character and more of an integral ensemble character, Heartcatch Pretor is becoming a little bit more interesting. So I'm finding myself enjoying that a little bit more now than I was when I was a little bit nervous and hesitant with the very, very early series episodes. As I've said, I'm continuing to watch No Game, No Life and Gochu Manhwa Isagi Yasuka. I'm enjoying both of those. I find myself continuing to watch the Haikyuu and Baby Steps sports anime. A little unusual for me to be watching 2 sports anime in a single season. But then again, it's a little bit unusual for Japan to produce more than 1 sports anime in a single season. In order to elaborate on my introductory comments, some of you may be aware that I teach English composition part-time at the local St. Petersburg College, which involves me this semester for the first time teaching Composition 2, which is an introduction to literature class. So I teach poetry, short story, and film. So thus, because my college students have to write a film review essay, I invited suggestions for a film that we could discuss to hypothetically lay out a structured, researched film review essay. In the absence of any suggestions, I suggested using the 1985 movie Highlander as an example. Many of you are familiar with the fact that I happen to be a very, very devoted fan of the film. I also think that the movie has enough substance that it can be developed into a fairly substantial scholarly essay that dives into its characteristics, its romanticism, and its influence on other American movies. Because I would argue that there's a very viable possibility that films like Kill Bill and The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise would not have existed had it not been for the movie Highlander 20 years before, popularizing the impact of Asian and samurai culture into Western action films. However, I was tremendously disappointed to find out that among 14 college students in my Composition 2 class, none of them were familiar with the film. None of them were familiar with the franchise Highlander, despite it having 2 television series and 5 motion pictures? Or is it 6 motion pictures? I should know this, but as we all know, there can be only 1. So it's excusable for me to consciously dismiss many of the sequel films. Now, perhaps I'm simply getting old, or perhaps otaku and geek culture is lagging behind and not really being as aggressive in encouraging appreciation of the classics as it should be lately. So, I encourage you, if you are a fan of Highlander, get someone else you know that has not seen the film to watch the movie. I do still plan on visiting Tokyo this summer. However, lately I've been having a bit of a dilemma because I'm trying to organize exactly when to go. I'm trying to plan around the possibility of friends going. I'm trying to plan around the possibility of crashing in the living room of a friend who happens to live in Tokyo, which would save me quite a bundle on a hotel. But I have not heard back from most of these people involved, so sadly, my plans are still in flux. But, thankfully to a very generous mother, my own, I do still plan on visiting Tokyo this summer, so I am planning on doing some blogging from the trip, and I hope that digitally you'll all follow me when I'm over in Tokyo being a unrepentant geek. Until that happens, I hope that you'll also continue to follow me here weekly on the AnimeNation podcast. So, until next week, I appreciate your following along, and I'll see you then.